This is a video that for so long I really wanted to share with you, especially because I have received this question a lot about my working experience in this country, in Turkey. So finally today I really want to open up in the reality of working in Turkey as a foreign language teacher. In this case, it doesn't matter if it's English, even German or Spanish. So if you want to see my working experience in the country, then stay and watch this video. My working experience goes back all the way to 2016 when I decided to teach in this country. So in general, I had about 6 years of working experience in this country, and I can tell you that I saw a lot. And there are many positive things, yes, but also there are plenty of negative things. So I guess this video in case that you're somebody who is trying to move to this country, and also if you are a native speaker of either English or Spanish, which are languages that are often taught in this country, you really need to keep all of these things in mind. I was mainly working at private schools in the country because in Turkey there are plenty of private schools. It is like a business here, so I don't really see it like educational institutions. They are mainly businesses. So even you will find also many well-known schools in the country with branches all over the country. So I preferred working at private schools rather than in languages courses, which also there are plenty, but I found it more reliable and with better benefits at a private school than in a language course. I'm going to start with one of the most important topics of this video, which are the requirements in order to teach a language in the country, because I'm quite sure many of you have that question in your head. So, well, back then it was quite easy. The only thing that I needed to show was my university diploma, regardless of not having it in education area. My department is totally different, and you just needed that, your university diploma, your university transcriptions, and also if you wanted to teach English, you needed a TEFL certificate or Delta, something like that. And in case of wanting to teach Spanish, you only needed the DELE certificate. So yeah, you needed to show only that. But now the rules have totally changed. About 2 years ago, the system changed, and because they just wanted to filter all of the diplomas, because they received many fake diplomas in government, like from the universities and also for the country, it's a bit difficult to really make sure that those university diplomas the candidates are showing are real. So in order to filter all of that, now they are requesting many other things. So what they have to do is that they need to validate the university diploma in Turkiye. They need to do something like the equivalent in the country, and then they need to do another procedure, which if I'm not mistaken, it's called denklik, and it takes about a year to finish all of that procedure, and it needs to be done directly in Ankara. And also you need to make some proficiency exams like TOEFL, PTE. And yeah, I mean, it's a way that now all of those requirements are being asked from candidates in order to also legally teach in the country, because if you don't have that denklik, then they cannot provide you with a working permit in the country. And of course, without a working permit in the country, you cannot legally work as a teacher in Turkey. And also that is another new requirement, that nowadays they are requesting the university diploma to be in a related area. So in this case, teaching English, literature, or something related to teaching a foreign language. So now it's not as easy as before. So now you really need to keep in mind all the requirements and make sure to always check for the updated requirements. The next important topic is about the salary. And yes, the salary, you're gonna get surprised. And the salary for a foreign teacher, the minimum legal wage in the country is 3 times the minimum wage of a Turkish citizen. So for example, as of 2023, the minimum wage for a Turkish citizen is about 8,000 Turkish liras monthly. So multiply that 3 times, that will be a brute salary of 24,000 liras. So to calculate the net salary, you need to deduce the SGK, which is the social security in the country, which is about maybe 3,000 to 4,000 liras, and some little other few things like little taxes and like that. and that will be it. So let's say that maybe net you might be having about 18,000 liras monthly, and that will be the minimum wage. So you can expect to get paid even more. Another question that also might be driving you crazy is, do they pay in Turkish liras or US dollars? Well, generally they are paying in the local currency, which is Turkish liras, but there are also a few schools, and those are like the very, very good ones, especially the private schools, that usually pay in dollars. So if you get the opportunity and if you can grab a job in any of those good name schools, then of course you're gonna be getting paid in dollars, and even you are going to be getting really, really great benefits. But those are just a few options of those schools. Usually most of schools here, they are paying in Turkish liras. So yeah, you need to be expecting to be getting paid in the local currency if you are not working in a more international type school in the country. Now there is something going on in the country that also this is quite interesting to me, and let me tell you that without a working permit you cannot teach, at least legally, you cannot legally teach in the country. But this is also a little bit of controversial because I have known, and I still know many schools that they are hiring teachers and they promise them to give them the work permit, but at the end they don't give them any work permit. So also this is something that I want to tell you, that be very careful with the schools that you have in mind to work with, and do a very, very well research, because even though you might see them offering, yeah, we will offer you the work permit, we're gonna give you all of these benefits, you really need to make sure that you are going to be given that, because sometimes they make you sign a contract, they promise you things, they promise you the moon and the stars, but at the end they are not giving it to you. So without a working permit, literally you're working illegally in the country, and also you're not going to be entitled to receive the benefits that you should have. In my personal experience, I tried to do a very, very extensive research of all the schools that I was gonna work with, and luckily I didn't have that sort of problem, because also I tried to look for reliable private schools, which I always did. They hired me and they always provided me with my working permit. They gave me always the 12-month, the 1-year full working permit, and every year they were renewing it. So yeah, in my case I didn't struggle with that, but I have read and I know many other colleagues who didn't get it from other schools, of course, and it is a real struggle. It is something that I still see in present times, that many people really complain about that. So this is why I'm telling you, look for reliable schools, do an extensive research before signing a contract. Something that I really liked about the schools here is that if you're working with them, you also have the benefit to use the shuttle services from home to work and vice versa. Also, they give you lunch. Some of them also include the breakfast. If you have a full year work permit and if you sign the contract for 1 full year, you are entitled to receive your summer holidays fully paid, and also winter holidays 2 weeks fully paid. SGK, which is this government health insurance. Many schools, and I also received that benefit, that apart from SGK, they will also give you a private insurance, which this one is awesome, because with that one you can go to private hospitals as well. And if you are lucky enough to find a really good school, some of them even offer housing. They will pay fully your rent or even half of it, depending on how your contract goes. And also some other schools offer airfare tickets to your home country. So I think these 2 last benefits are really good. I couldn't find a school that really offered that in my case, but it didn't really matter, because I mean, I already had a house here, so I didn't really needed those benefits. But let's say that a newcomer, they could really use these benefits. So these are really good. Not every single school offers them, but the best ones, they do. Now finally, after all the explanation about the teaching system and what do you really need in order to do this job in the country, I want to get to the main point or idea of the video. What was my experience like teaching in Turkey? Well, I will say that it was mostly positive, but of course there were many negative things as well, and most of the negative things were towards the whole institution, like of schools. I worked probably in about 5 different schools until I finally found one that I felt comfortable with, which was the very last one that I was working at. But all the things that every private school has in common is that most of them are so unorganized. Most of them also are kind of unprofessional as well. They tend to leave everything to last minute. They make teachers run to do things in the last 5 minutes when something is requested. So that was a little bit of difficult thing for me because I'm not used to work under those circumstances. But most of schools have these that they are a little bit unorganized. So that is something negative that I didn't like at all. Another thing that also I didn't like is that, for example, in my case, that I was teaching Spanish and I really want my students to learn something, not just to make them like little robots, like to fill in the books and that was it. We didn't really have the chance, or the schools weren't giving us the opportunity to really give them other skills, like try to implement like different methods in order to help our students to speak a little bit more. All they were caring about is to fill in the books and to finish them in time, and that was it, which this is something I fully disliked. All the topics, we had to finish them really, really fast. Every single lesson, we needed to learn something new, and also that wasn't good for our students because we didn't really have the opportunity with them or for them to practice what we were learning in the past classes. So it was quite challenging, not just for teachers, but also for students, that they were just mostly focusing on finish the book and that's all we care about. In addition to all of this, also something that I fully disagreed with while working at private schools is that also when we were checking the exams from our students, and if some students failed those exams, they were making teachers to correct the wrong answers and to write them correctly with our own hand. That is something that, I don't know, I mean, there is something called ethics, and we shouldn't be doing that. And that is something that I also encountered, not just in one school, but in maybe 2 or 3 schools, that they often were doing that. And I don't know, this is, to me, this is like cheating, and this is something that I do not approve at all. And a couple of times, so of course, I denied, I couldn't really do it. So yeah, this is something that also that I encountered and that I fully disliked. I must say that these kind of situations, because I was teaching to elementary school mainly, so this situation I was encountering it with elementary students. I'm not quite sure if this is also a frequent practice with middle school and high school and even university students. I have no experience in that, but when it comes to elementary schools, yes, I encountered that a couple of times. Something else to keep in mind is that in Turkey, they care a lot about the image and the passport you are holding. So let's imagine that you are not a holder of a passport of, like, for example, the US, the UK, but you are very qualified, your English is very, very good, and you have experience at teaching in different countries and so on. More likely, either they're gonna want to pay you way less regardless of your qualifications, or they are not going to hire you, because a lot of times they all care about is about the passport, the image, and many of those teachers are not that qualified, but just because they hold a passport from a native English speaking country, they are going to hire them over you. And this brings me to the last topic, which is I see private schools in the country most as businesses, not as an educational institution. And this is because many of them will care only about what passport do you hold and your image, so they can show that to the parents who are paying for really, really high fees for their kids to attend those schools. So this was my working experience in the country. I will not say that everything was negative, because it wasn't. Of course, I had positive things and I learned so many things while working as a Spanish teacher in the country, and I loved it. And especially working with little children, it was really nice and it was really lovely. But I also wanted to bring those negative sides so you can keep them in mind, because these are things that are really happening, and trust me, they happen very, very often. By the way, if you are planning in teaching in the country and if you want to look for opinions about certain schools and names and everything, there are two very good Facebook groups where also other teachers are sharing things about the working experiences in certain schools in Istanbul mainly. So I'm gonna be writing the names on the screen, and also I'm gonna be sharing the links in the description box and the pinned comment, so you can also check those groups out. They are very, very helpful. If you're watching this video and if you live in Turkey and already have some working experience in this field or even in any other field in Turkey that also you would like to share your experience, please feel free to comment below so that others can also benefit from your own experience. If you like the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. See you next time. Bye bye.